Hello and welcome to Transmission. Tonight I am joined by Greer, who is the President of Seahorse Victoria. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Nate. Lovely to be here.
So can you tell me quickly a little bit about Seahorse?
Well, Seahorse is the longest continuously operating transgender group in Australia. Formed 39 years ago, and next year on the 18th of July 2015 we'll be celebrating 40 years, a very significant milestone.
Congratulations.
Yes.
So how long have you been involved with Seahorse?
Personally, just on 12 years, and I've been president now for, well, I dare not remember, probably about 5 years I think, and I had an earlier stint as president a number of years ago, so fairly actively involved.
Yeah. And so aside from sort of Seahorse and obviously very involved with that, what other sort of stuff do you
Well,
get up
in
to?
recent years, the thing that's really got me very involved and I thoroughly enjoy doing is I'm a member of Toastmasters International, a public speaking group, and it's a club-based system, so I get to meet an enormous range of people, lots of age variation, gender variation, and ethnic background variation. So I find it a very tolerant, accepting group, and I enjoy the interaction with people.
So what sort of stuff do you do, I suppose, with that?
It's basically for learning all aspects of speaking and leadership skills. So basically how to run meetings, how to prepare speeches. One of the aspects of doing a speech is having an evaluation. So somebody is allocated each meeting to evaluate your speech, and part of the evaluation is to be encouraging without being critical, and still offering suggestions that next time you have a speech, maybe if you do this or that, you might enhance the quality of your speech. And I find that mentoring style aspect of Toastmasters really rewarding. There is competition speaking, which is just starting up again for the next 12 months at club level, and I'm very actively involved in judging at competition as well.
Yeah. So what sort of, like you said, very diverse sort of groups of people. So are you talking about sort of the, young people and...
Oh, yes. It's all adult, 18 and above. In the club that I'm a member of at Nunawading called Whitehorse, we have members ranging from their mid-20s through to their 70s, and a good balance between male and female, as well as a very good ethnic background mix, migrants from all parts of the world, as well as local people. And we have a good mix of people who have been in the club a long time, as well as people just coming into the club, because being a self-help sort of training group, you do get a bit of a turnover, but we managed to balance it out with people who have been around a few years, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah.
And so have you found that it sort of helped you, I suppose, in roles outside of that?
It does, particularly, identifying being transgendered. There was a big challenge to get out into the broader community to say, I'm learning to be comfortable with myself, and I think that's what it's been allowed me to do, and to make more rational decisions, because circumstances mean that I still have to continue working. So I do live a little bit of a dual life, but if where I work did actually twig to my naturally blonde hair and ask questions, or by chance viewed this interview at a later stage and say, I didn't realise that about you, it's no skin off my nose, because I've already got an established work record and I'm confident in myself, and Toastmasters as well as Seahorse has allowed me to develop that balance, I think, at the moment. to be where I want to be.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. And I mean, you said that you're sort of living sort of that dual life. How do you find that sort of, I suppose, going into work and then?
I don't really find it that difficult. I think I've been doing it for that long, and I don't sort of see one side of my personality being different to the other. I really see this as an expression of me as a whole person. I don't personally see that I'm trapped in the wrong body, but this is me as a whole person, and that's how I view it, and therefore the blend works easy.
And does anybody at work, I suppose, at your workplace know about Greer? Or?
No, not really. But I haven't hidden myself from it either. But when you're in a fluoro shirt and steel cap boots, it doesn't make much difference.
We wouldn't go with what you're wearing at the moment.
Definitely not. A bit of a colour clash.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you do any sort of anything else outside of sort of those?
At the moment, for the last few years, that's been really the focus of it, because by the time you do 5 days at work, and Seahorse and Toastmasters take up a lot of evening time as well as weekend time, that the expansion of my circle of friends is enormous through that. And then I've got to fit in time to catch up with family as well, because I do have 4 adult children and 5 grandchildren. The oldest of whom 17, going on 18, and the youngest is 4.5. So I've got to balance that into it as well.
Yeah.
But all my family know about me, so it's in reality it's not a big issue. But I do take heed of sensibilities at times, but I don't. Nothing's really hidden.
Yeah.
Which is the important aspect, and all the family talk to me.
Yeah. And so you sort of got to a stage, I suppose, where you're pretty happy and things are sort of...
Pretty well. I think like any aspect of life, once you've done something for so long, you'd like to maybe improve or challenge or make changes to just keep up with your own development as a person. And maybe at some point I might get back to going to school or something and doing something as a extra study, because I love my reading, and that's keeps me a broad interest of subjects.
Yeah, what sort of stuff do you like to read?
Mainly factual, historical things. So at the moment I'm reading a book called 36 Days about the preparation leading into Gallipoli. Concurrently I'm at work reading a book called The Map That Changed the World, about William Smith in England in the early 1800s developed a geological map. Galileo, or you name it, I read it.
Cool. Well, look, thank you very much for coming in and having a chat to us. A big thank you to Greer for joining us tonight. You've been watching Transmission.
Hi, you're watching Transmission. Next, check out Queensland's coolest skater girl, Evie Ryder.
So, Evie, tell me, how long have you been skateboarding for?
I've been skating since perhaps the age of 7, I'm 31 now, so yeah, over 20 years.
That'd be 24.
24? Yeah, something like that. I'm not good with maths. Yeah, skating for a long time.
And what is it that you like about skating? You've done it all these years.
Well, for skating, it started off as something to do, on the weekend, something fun to do with friends. But it ended up being something which sort of helped feed my adrenaline. It also ended up being something positive and active I could do. And it ended up sometimes being a way to deal with emotions. Like when I was really angry or sad, like skating was something I could turn to work through some of that hard stuff.
And do you teach other people how to skate?
Yeah, I love teaching people how to skate. I got a little team in Brisbane called Team Sparkle, and it's pretty much anyone that wants to skate with me. And I just go, I love teaching people the basics 101, like how to stand on a board, how to fall off, how to balance, how to turn. I think that's one of the funnest parts of skating is teaching others.
So So what do you do with your life? You skate? What else? What other sorts of things do you do?
Well, I was, a social worker working as a health promotion officer for the Queensland AIDS Council for about 7 years. And then recently, defunding, sort of left that. Now I'm studying film and television at JMC Academy. I want to become a filmmaker. I think there's so many interesting stories in the trans community that we just need more people to make films about them. And yeah, I skate all over Australia, skated in America, skating competitions. Today I'm wearing Daughters of Doom, which is a female skate competition that happens nationally here every year. And this year I skated in the final, which was really great. And also I love doing stuff for the trans community. I recently helped out with the Buck Angel tour, and I put on some workshops around trans women's sexuality, and I love talking about that stuff. Also run a group called Many Genders One Voice, which is a trans health action group in Brisbane, and then we do things like movie fundraiser nights, help put on conferences, advocacy around trans health, to the things, all that sort of stuff.
Queensland's known for people being very conservative and somewhat scary. So I guess there's places that you would probably want to avoid, and if you not want to be really out as trans in those sorts of places.
Well, one of them today is skate parks. Generally, is I'm quite afraid. Other than today, to speak at skate parks, because I'm afraid when I talk, my voice gives me away, and I'm afraid people will hear that at skate parks and maybe abuse me or tease me or threaten me with violence. That's something I have as a constant fear. But in Queensland, there's only a few small groups across the state, maybe one or two in Cairns, one in Townsville, maybe there's one on the Gold Coast and one in Brisbane, but that's really it. So it's quite a small community, and it's diverse. It's got all types of gender identity, gender fluid people. Yeah.
Do you participate in the Brisbane Pride March?
Yes, I do. As working for the Queensland AIDS Council for the last 6 or 7 years, I've had to organise huge parts of some of the events at the Brisbane Pride, and I've got to march with Georgina Mayer, the politician from New Zealand who's transgender. I got to march with her one year in that march, and this year I actually marched in the Melbourne Pride. Melbourne Pride March, and that was pretty cool. So I love marching in it. Usually there's not many other people to march with me though. So it's quite a lonely experience at times.
Well, maybe some of us in Melbourne should fly up and join you. It's September, October this year, yeah?
Yeah. We're trying to get a crew together because it's... the other thing we find is very few... A lot of trans people generally aren't that comfortable about being so public about their identity. And a march really puts you out there in the public face. So it's when you can find other people to march with you in a space like that, it's pretty amazing.
Do you see yourself as an activist, or do you see yourself as being a positive role model out there, or how do you see yourself? Because you want to get out there and you want people to know who you are and what you are.
Yeah.
So what's your goal? Why do you want to do that?
Well, basically, I see myself as a trans activist, educator. I've started up my own business called Evie Ryder Productions. So people can hire me to do training or skating or whatever they like, social work type stuff. But at the end of the day, all the stuff I do, especially with the trans community, is all about, my big thing is visibility. I want to make it safer for others to come out and be who they are.
How long ago did you come out?
I came out when I was 19.
So that was quite a few years back.
Yeah.
Things have changed a lot since then, haven't they?
Definitely.
What do you see as some of the really positive changes that have happened over that period of time?
I think there's been a lot more exposure of trans people in the media. Like there's been a couple of mainstream TV shows, like Big Brother had a trans person in the house. But I guess for me, I've seen a lot more young trans people come out. Like seeing groups like Why Gender start up, it's been pretty amazing. And Jelly Beans is the Queensland version of Why Gender. Yeah, so seeing more young people transition and feeling safe and having more acceptance by their family, I'm seeing that more and more. It's not as much as it should be or could be, but seeing that wasn't when I was young. I felt like I was the only one, and everybody else that had transitioned was maybe 40 or 50 years older. I'd just like to thank Ben TV for coming here and supporting this event and covering trans in action sports. It's really amazing.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you for joining us today as well.
Wasn't that great? Now hang in there, there'll be more transmission after this short break.
Welcome back to Transmission. I'm Sammy Cameron. Tonight I am joined by Simona, Dee and Nate. And we are discussing weighing up people's need to transition against stopping people who aren't in the right place to transition. So how difficult is it to have such an important personal decision and need held in the hands of medical experts?
Well, I think it's pretty important. I think the process, or I think the word you used earlier was gatekeeper, I think it actually is important, or I found it very important, because I needed to really know. Even though I did really know inside of me, I needed to really kind of have that professional input to a degree.
Yeah, I felt the rigour that I went through was certainly an advantage. And it turns out that the GP that I'd been seeing was, someone that was, very well experienced, for 10 years. So, and just by going through it, 'cause I had so much confusion. So I knew I was doing the right thing, particularly so late in life,
I think for me, it was before I transitioned, I thought of the medical model and the way that it worked was ridiculous, and I hated it, and I wanted to do everything outside of that. I didn't want to have anything to do with it, and it's ridiculous that I have to go and see people and all that sort of stuff. But then actually, in hindsight, I think it wasn't too bad. Like, I still do think that there were certain things. Like, I do think that I should be able to say, I make an informed decision that I want to start hormones or do whatever that was, and I think that should be allowed. But maybe a different process of what we're currently doing with, because I had to go through a psychiatrist to do that, and I don't necessarily think that was necessarily the right for me.
One of the arguments that's often used against the medical model is that other people get all kinds of things done to their body. Breast implants is a really obvious one, and there's no requirement for any checks and balances, and that's one of the arguments that people use. What do you think of that argument as far as transitioning? Is it relevant?
Well, I probably agree with Nate on the fact of going through a psychiatrist to get hormones. I think is absolutely crazy. I mean, I went into my GP and spoke to him. I did know my GP for a long term, so that was kind of better, I suppose. But I agree with you on the surgery side of it. I think, if you can go in and get implants done or, other surgery, cosmetic surgery, why do we have to go through so much?
How about the argument that says that maybe all those other things actually need to have more checks and balances, that's actually where the error is?
Yeah, I didn't actually think of that.
Well, I do think that there is other surgeries that do have those checks and balances. So things like lap banding. I think there's a lot of places actually now have criteria about having some form of counselling type thing and doing other stuff as well. But I suppose it's that. But it's also that other aspect of that is that it's you can go and get sort of any sort of cosmetic surgery type thing, but it's not, I don't know, personally I found that the surgery that I've undergone wasn't a cosmetic thing.
No.
So I think that's where it's different.
I feel of course it's not cosmetic. for us, of course, it's not. You know, this is just about how we want to feel and be.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think one of the most important thing is removing the stigma that's attached to the process, because the danger of the stigma and the danger of the amount of steps is the fear that, particularly, well, anybody, I guess anyone of any age that wants to transition, whether it be male to female or female to male, you want people to have confidence that they're going to be looked after, that it's important to do things the right dosage and to do things in the right order, and to feel confident that they're actually being looked after, and it's not this sort of scary, I've got to get all the answers right, and it's not this exam, it's not this really scary thing. There should be more confidence, I guess, in the people that are trying to go through the process.
So hormones are very dangerous things, and some people don't go through a medical process in order to obtain them. It's really dangerous, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
It's really bad. You need to go get blood tests and make sure that...
Yeah, I mean, the risk is that you're taking too much, because any sort of medications and things like that are going to affect your body in ways that you're not necessarily going to be able to predict. And, it's advisable to be doing it through somebody who's had training. So a doctor is generally, had some training. And so able to sort of do those things like monitoring and making sure that you're doing the right things in terms of that. But the flip side of that is that if you are already doing it outside of supervision, so you haven't seen your doctor, you should probably let them know that you're doing it, and they're not necessarily going to say, no, you can't have this anymore and things like that. I think it's about getting that conversation happening.
I've heard of those examples of people who have been taking hormones without medical care, going to the doctor, and the doctor actually being quite supportive and saying, okay, first thing we need to do is get a blood test. And let's see what the situation is.
Yeah.
I guess you shouldn't be frightened if you've gone and done the wrong thing.
No, go out there and
just get help.
Talk to someone that knows.
Yeah. No, I think most people would be surprised, I guess, that there's support out there for it. So, but that just needs to be encouraged, and people need to be educated that it's fine to go in and do that.
So it was Harry Benjamin originally set up a thing called the Standards of Care, and you can go to a website wpath.org. and download what the medical people all around the world conform to. That's, I guess, being consistent
would be, and it's good to know. I think it's a good thing to know I think what they're all supposed to do.
Well, yes, it is. In fact, you can keep an eye on your medical professionals to make sure that they're actually doing what they should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my GP, had to, come down on me a bit hard the other day, because I didn't want to do something and he wanted me to do something, and and I know he was coming from duty of care and needing me to do it, and I was like, no, but I don't have the time to do it, Of course I've done it, so yeah.
So is there an alternative process, or do you think that what's in place now is valid?
I think it probably needs a little bit of work. Again, it's confidence. It's people just having confidence in the system, I suppose. I mean, a lot of people will go and look online, I think, and follow other blogs, and they know that in the United States there's on some of the blogs it's like, they'll take Spiractin first, and then it'll be onto hormones, whereas here it's kind of the other way around, So you go into the session and you're going, oh, hang on, but aren't I supposed to take, T blockers first? And they're like, no, so the other way around. So different countries do different things.
So I guess it's good to have some knowledge, but then go and challenge your GP or whoever's giving you instructions and let them justify what they're actually giving you.
Yeah.
And it's like anything else, get a second opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Sammy Cameron. Thank you to Simona, Dee and Nate. You've been watching Transmission. Please send us your feedback. See you next time.